Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to lesson 37 in this series on developing a survival game. In this video, we'll set up our landscape tessellation. This will make our landscape feel a bit more immersive. We'll make the sand a bit more sandy, the rocks a bit more rocky. We'll also do it for our dirt and grass, of course, but I have no good puns for that. Those weren't really puns, I realize. Anyway, this series has been brought to you by my Patreon sponsors, and with that said, open up your project, and let's get started. Hi everybody, and welcome to the last video for setting up our materials before we import our map. Let's go over to our materials test map and make sure everything is still set up correctly. Nothing has broken. It still looks all pretty-ish with some things that we need to do, like tessellation. Again, some of the stuff we can't really test on this map. We have areas to see contrasts. We can see that the fade offset's a bit obvious, but we might not see that on the island. And we're going to do things on the island that we need to see this on the island before we do some major changes to what we currently have. But it is a start, and we can use this area for changes down the road, like when we come back and fix, say, that fade line there. Right about there, if you're not noticing it. It moves, of course, as I move the camera. But for now, we're nearly there. What we're going to do now is relatively simple. We're going to do our tessellation. I say relatively simple. What's simple about it is we've done the first part of it already. We did it with the water. So let's go to our materials. Let's go to our ground. Let's go to our rock first. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to cheat. We're going to go to our landscape. We're opening this up. We are going to go to our rock from here. And if you keep getting the preview being this bottom one, select the one at the top, and you can do enable for live preview, start preview mode. Yeah, I can't remember. There's a way to prevent it from doing that. All right, the first thing we're going to do is a material function call. What material function are we going to call? Well, we have our camera distance tessellation. Boom. That's all. That's all we're going to do. Well, not all we're going to do. That's the easy part. We're going to take this, and we are going to bring this up to our tessellation multiplier. That's the first thing we need to do. So that's our tessellation multiplier, and we're going to actually have a reroute on this because we're going to do two things with it. Actually, I'm going to have two reroutes to make my life a little bit easier. All right, just line those all up. And we're going to take care of our tessellation. So we're going to use our coordinates like we did earlier, but without the shader offsets. And again, we can set a preview up if you want. All we're going to do for the preview is get our world position. You're not really going to be able to see this in the preview, by the way. Without the offsets, multiply. And we're going to multiply by 1 because that is our world tiling. And plug that into there. Again, a preview doesn't really affect anything. It is just that, a preview of what's going into this node. All right, we are going to do a multiply node again. And on this case, well, we're not going to lerp like we are between two settings. We're just going to use one displacement. And I could drag all the way down from rock tiling to here, but I could also just duplicate the node. And our instance will change it for both of these rock tilings. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug into our texture sample UV from there. And notice now we have this blown up image, which is fine. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do our actual tessellation calculations. So from our RGB channel, I'm going to multiply. And this is our base tessellation right here. So this step is going to be our base tessellation. We're going to right click our B, promote to parameter, and this will be our rock tessellation. I'm going to set the default value at 2, which is going to create some really messed up stuff in just a moment. And then I'm going to control for this tessellation, and I'm going to smooth the edges slightly. And I'm going to do that by subtracting from our multiply here, and I'm going to subtract a return off a divide node here. So I'm going to do divide, and I'm going to divide our tessellation in half, which is going to allow me to control for the edges and smoothing it a bit. And then I'm going to do another divide for yet further control. So I'm just going to line those up real quick. Come off of here, do a divide. And for this divide, I am going to modify this value here. And this is so that the value of 2 doesn't do something weird. Otherwise, you need really small floats that can cause issues. And it's really hard for me to think in really small numbers. So I find if you divide this by a really large number, it makes life a little bit easier. You don't need to do this outside of landscape most of the time, I find as well. My B, I'm just going to default to a value of 100. As for A, I am going to promote that to a parameter, and this will be a rock tessellation modifier. And I'm going to default this value to 10. Also, I'm going to go back and make sure that everything in here right now goes back into our rock category. That's already in the rock category if you don't believe me. Yeah, see. And after that, we are going to base this on the vertex normal in the world space, which, hey, there's a node for. So we're going to do multiply. And then we are going to get our vertex normal world space. So if you want information on that, it outputs the world space vertex normal. So we're going to plug that into there, and there we go. And second to last, I still need more room. What we're going to do is we are going to use our multiplier to have further control for this. So we're going to do another multiply. And we're going to take from our multiplier and go into there. There we go. Okay, I guess I need to move these two back this time. And then finally, we're going to take the object radius as further control. So we'll do another multiply. And we will then do our object radius. And this gives us a radius of our object. And we're going to take this and go into our world displacement. So that is the tessellation for the rock done. We can literally pretty much copy all of this out. In fact, we could probably make this a material function if you felt like it, where you input a texture sample. If you feel like doing it, go for it. We need to promote these two variables. Now let's take care of the world position real quick. This one is easy. It's it's world position absolute. We're not going to plug anything else into there. We're not going to try to feed into that up there. We're just getting the world position. And I'm going to tuck that under here. And then for the rest of these, our tessellation, far tessellation, I'm just going to promote to a variable, and this will be our rock far tessellation, which I am going to leave at a value of 0. And then our tessellation near, I'll do next, which will be our rock tessellation. By the way, I know I've not put them into the category. I'm going to do that one real quick there. For our near tessellation, I will default this to 1 for now. For our rock tessellation offset, I am going to use a value of 0.025 as my default value. So 0.025. And for our tessellation fade distance, I am going to use a dummy value or a placeholder value or a default value, whatever you want to call it, of 1000. All right, and now I'm going to make sure these are all in the correct category. And then once I've done that, I'm going to just switch back over to this screen, make sure they're all in the correct categories. They are. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the copy and paste on this, because it's going to be a bit, well, I'm going to take everything, Control C. So if you heard me clicking it multiple times, I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to paste it down here for a moment. And I am going to delete that. Okay, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to panic for a moment and go back here, make sure it didn't delete off of here. Probably shouldn't have copied that part in, to be fair. I'm going to paste that in. Going to then just move that into there, that into there. Make sure that is dirt displacement. It is. I hate when it does that. There's our dirt displacement. And I'm going to take my dirt tiling. I'm going to Control W it down here. Replace that. And then I'm going to go through and change out all the names in here to, well, dirt. And set the category to dirt. So I'm going to just walk you through it one more time. So dirt to dirt. Rock to dirt. Of course, the category is wrong. There we go. And that is in our dirt category. Nothing else in there. And then we have our dirt far, which, let me just make sure I'm not changing any of the values here. We're going to set our dirt far to 0. And we have our dirt, let me change the category as well. And we have our dirt tessellation offset. Put it in the correct category. Our tessellation offset will be 0.025, so it stays the same. Our dirt fade distance, or test fade distance, we will leave at 1,000, and we'll put in the category dirt. And then our rock, our dirt near tessellation, we will default to 1. Like before, don't really need the preview. I'm going to delete the preview because I'm not going to use it. And I'm going to show you what I'll copy this time over just to make it a little bit more easy to do. We're going to take this bottom value here. I'm going to go from there into our tessellation multiplier. I'm going to move this to the right a bit clearly. There we go. And then take from that into our world displacement. And then I'm going to go over to our parameters. They all say dirt, and they're all under the dirt category. I'm going to copy everything but that input node now, and I am going to go over to our next layer. I'm going to pause the video here so you can get the practice in doing the other ones. You don't need to see me do them. It's literally just changing the name over. Alrighty, I've made all the changes, but I made one mistake. In all but the rock, the tessellation, not sure what tessellation is, should be 0.5. I'm not sure why that changed to 3 suddenly there, but okay, 0.5. I think I hit the 3 key instead of the enter key on the number pad. Also, make sure to go through and check they're all in the correct one. So sand is in the correct one. Mud is also going to be 0.5 there, so we'll change that to 0.5. And again, check all of them again. I did this while going through it. As you can see, I still have some of them up. Our grass is also 0.5. The rock is the only one that actually needs a relatively large number. Our dirt, don't have that one open. Ooh, I didn't make the normal change I did. Enable real-time start previewing. There we go. Our dirt should be 0.5 and the rock should be 2. All right, I'm just gonna save all of these now, and I'm gonna let the shaders recompile. Once they're finished recompiling, I will resume in the main editor, and we will set up the last little bit for our material instance before we finish up and go on to our next video. Alrighty, with our shaders now compiled, we go over to our main map to look at the results on our main map, but our test map. And oh, look at all the difference. Actually, you can see a bit of tearing there. So there is a bit of difference. Might be a bit hard to see right now. So let's go to our wireframe mode. Let's turn off the sky sphere. Let's zoom out. You can see the tessellation a bit better that way. Far tessellation's are really working over there, but we zoom in, and the near tessellation's a bit off. So we're gonna switch between, we're actually gonna do 2 windows if we're able to. I guess we can't do 2. I wanted to. Let's do, sorry if you can hear an animal moving around in the background. That is the cat, my neighbor's cat that likes to sneak in. So 2 viewports. And I want to anchor 2 of them. There we go, like that. And we're gonna just try to get to the same location so we can see this in 2 different windows, and we can kind of see what's happening when we look at our environment. Unfortunately, we're going to see through the back of our area there. And the next thing we're going to do is go to our ground, open up our material instance, And like usual, bring this to the side. And I'm just going to line this up so, again, we can more easily see what we're doing. We'll start with usual with the rock. And we have all of these extra little bits here now. So for our rock, let's take a look at our far tessellation. Actually, we'll do our far tessellation last. Let's take a look at our tessellation modifier, which I believe is this one. Yeah. And we're going to just play with this number. We're going to want to go up with it. So let's go to 20. We can't see much of a change. Let's go to 30. We can't see much of a change. In fact, actually, we're not going to see any change with this. So we're going to revert this back down to 10. We are going to change this, by the way. Let's take a look at our rock tessellation. Let's move this number around. Oh, you can see the effects there quite drastically. So we can see the movement on the ground. Now I'm just going to move this camera a bit closer. And that is a bit too much tessellation, to be fair. Also, we're not multiplying the ground anywhere near enough. I'm going to leave this at 29 just for now. We are not using that, by the way. What we are going to do is... Actually, that is our tessellation. That is the amount we're tessellating by. Give me 1 second. We're going to go over to our rock layer. I just want to look up the name of something. It is our rock tessellation, yeah. Okay, so we're going to change that rock tessellation a bit. We're going to go to, I'm just going to tell you, it's going to be 1.94 is what we want. And we can't see much here, can we? It doesn't look like it's changed. That's fine. What we're going to do to fix this is change our tessellation modifier now. We're going to change our tessellation modifier to 65. And you notice now that there's a bit more displacement. Okay, our tessellation fade distance, we will leave as is. Our tessellation offset we'll leave as is. Our far tessellation, well, let's take a look out that way. We'll change to 3. Our near tessellation, well, that's where we're actually going to do most of the changes. We're going to up this one. Our near tessellation, we're going to set to 20 because that's the multiplier. That near and far are the multiplier. So now we can see the change in the ground. I should have done that one first. Sorry, I forgot which one I was looking for, and it should have been obvious that was the one plugged into the multiplier. And you know what? We can change this tessellation. Let's go back to 2 for a moment. You can see the effect. Raise this up again. You can see on the right how that's changing the ground. Set this to just 1. Let's actually set to 0, so it's flat. And I'm just going to try to get as close to about there as I can, and we're going to slowly change that. And notice that when we get too high, around 4, it's a little bit messed up. Let's go down to 4 even, go down to 3, go down to 2, and it's still a bit messed up. That's why we're going to use 1.94, because that's a bit smoother and looks a bit nicer, but we have some variation on the landscape. All right, so with that done, let's just make sure we have everything as is. Our constants for our variation are right. Our far tessellation is correct, and we can see that really well from a higher point of view, that we get some, you can see the mud path there is not being tessellated at the same rate, but we can see that we have a bit of tessellation out there as well, so that we're getting some variation in the ground. Our near tessellation is correct. Our rock rough max is correct. We're not changing the min. The specular is fine. Our rock tessellation is good enough. Our rock tessellation modifier is where I want it. Our fade distance is where I want it. Now, if you want to see what fade distance does, you really can't see that too well, I guess. There you go. You can kind of see it as it changes. Set it this to back to 1,000. It's really hard to see. You can only see it with the low numbers. The offset's a little bit easier to see on a landscape, I find. So if you go, there's the offset. So if you change the offset, we can get some really funky numbers. We're going to leave the offset as is, though, at 0.25 or 0.025, sorry. Our tile fade length, we're actually going to up this to, oh, we're going to leave that at 200. Our tile fade offset's 2,000. Our UV tiling is right. All of these are now right. Okay, let's do our mud next, just because the mud is literally right here. There we go. There is our mud. cats attacking the door. Let's open up the mud. Let's do our near tessellation first. So that's our multiplier. Remember, this is the near multiplier. Let's also go to 20. And you can see now that we have some life there, there's a little bit of raising of the material. It's a little bit too much. I'm going to just come into the ground a bit here so we can see what's really going on. And yikes, that is way too much, but we will leave this at 20. That is going to be our base amount. Our mud far tessellation, we are going to do only at 2 though. And let's see if I can get a good angle to show us what's going to happen with that one. I don't think there's enough mud in this area, but if we were out there, we could see it. For our mud tessellation itself, what we are going to do, since this is a bit too much, is we're going to lower this value slightly. Let's go to 0.4, still a bit too much. 0.3, still a bit too much. 0.2. Well, that is still a fair amount, but if we look at it, it looks a bit more natural. It feels a bit more rough. I'm gonna go up to 0.3 just again for a second. 0.3 is a bit too much. I'm gonna go 0.25. It's still a bit too much. I like 0.2, I guess. Sorry, I was messing with the numbers based on what I had done in there. Our tessellation modifier we'll leave at 10. Our tessellation fade distance we'll leave at 1,000. Our tessellation mud offset, or mud tessellation offset, we will change a little bit. Let's change our offset, and this is going to help clean up some of the issues. And we're going to just raise this up to, say, 0.5 for a moment. Can't see much of a change. Let's go to 1. And it's a little bit smoother. It's really subtle. Like, if you change the offset, you can kind of see it. Like, I love going in the negatives, by the way. It does some weird stuff. But we're going to go to 1. And we're just going to leave it at 1. All right. Our mud tiling, we're going to leave as is. Our variations, we've already done for all 3. And our constants remain 0.5. All right. That is our mud and rock done. Let's go over to our dirt next. And I actually am going to have to change the other one back to lit to see where the dirt is. There it is. There's our dirt. We can go back to wireframe now. And you can see again, we don't have anything there. So we're going to start with our near tessellation. And for our near tessellation, we're going to just use our default of 20 for now. And when we do that, so something's a bit wonky with our dirt, and I'm not sure what that is. I'm a bit confused, so I'm just going to put the default values in that I'm going to use, which is 2 for the far. For the max rough, it's 1, min is 0, dirt specular is 0.1, dirt tessellation, I'm going to change this to 0.15. I'm actually a bit confused why that isn't changing. Our tessellation modifier, we're going to leave at 10. Our fade distance, we're going to leave at 1,000. Our fade offset, we will change to 2. And that might be the issue. While it's doing that, I'm just going to put the rest of the numbers in. So our dirt rough, our dirt tessellation is 0.5. Our modifier is 10. Leave that as is. Change that to 2. Tiling is as is. Yeah, no, I'm in the right spot. Let's go over here to our mud real quick, where we know there should be some tessellation. I'll go to wireframe. Interesting. And yet we're getting the effect over here, but not for our materials here. So what I'm going to do is, I think something is wrong with our painting. And I'm just going to select our dirt. I'm actually going to clear all the layers. And I'm going to fill layer with our rock real quick. And with that done, I'm going to select dirt again. And I'm going to just paint some dirt onto here. Allow the shaders to recompile. I'm just going to switch over to place mode. I'm actually going to check one thing in here real quick. And it is weight layer blend. Okay. I'm going to put a bit more dirt in, just so we have a little bit more to look at here. Oh, we are getting the tessellation now. I can see that we're getting the tessellation. So I'm not sure what happened on my version, but there is the tessellation. That's what we're looking for. Let's go back to lit mode. Let's do our grass layer next. So I'm just going to paint some grass onto here. There we go. Get some nice grass on there. And I'm going to line the camera up here, switch back to place mode, go to wireframe, and just switch over to grass on this. And in our grass, let's start with a near tessellation like usual. And we'll use our usual of 20. There we go. Hey, it's working. Okay, you can see the ground has raised up slightly. We'll set our far, and let me zoom out so you can see a bit better, to a value of 5. And this is just because it's the second most present material. We will leave the tessellation modifier at 10. We will leave the roughness at 0. Our grass specular will leave at a max of 0.75. Our specular min at 0. Our grass tessellation, well, it doesn't look like it's doing much down here. So we're going to just double the value real quick. And notice it's raised off the ground. You get a little bit more variation. If we zoom out, it's a little bit nicer looking suddenly. The grass is popping a bit more. As for our fade distance, we are going to, I believe, leave that as is. And we're going to leave our offset as is. Our tiling is right. Everything else is right. So that's our grass taken care of. Let me switch over to our paint mode. We've done mud. I'm just going to paint a layer of mud so we can see that all the layers will blend in because we're clearly in one component still. Why do you think I'm painting in one component only? Is to test things out. So there is our mud in that component. So we have 4 textures in that component, and let's put a 5th texture in just to make sure everything is working right. And there is our sand. Wow, I didn't expect you to recompile that section. All right, so let's take care of our sand real quick. And I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna just move the camera over here real quick. I'm gonna go back to wireframe mode. I'm gonna switch back over to our place mode so I don't accidentally paint more sand where I don't want it. And for our sand, let's take our near tessellation and we are gonna set this to 30. Because we want to play with the sand a fair bit. We want to have a lot of noise to play with. But this is really way too much right now. Everything else is way too much. We also do want to consider the far tessellation a bit more. So we want to look out that way a bit. And we're going to just change the far tessellation as well. And we're going to change this to 3. So we get the tessellation going a bit further out. Oh God, that is kind of like nauseating and also hypnotizing. Our sand rough min or max will stay at 1. Our sand rough min will be 0.35. Our specular 3.5. Our sand tessellation, however, we need to lower this. 0.5 is too big. Let's go to 0.25. All right, that's a bit better. It's still a bit wonky, so let's lower it even further. Let's go down to 0.15, and that is much nicer. Now, our offsets are terrifying. Oh God, we need to fix our offsets on this one because this is going to stand out a fair amount. So we have our sand tessellation modifier, which we'll leave at 10. Our sand tessellation fade distance, which we will leave at 1,000. It's this offset though that we want to change, our sand tess offset. So for our sand tess offset, we want to make this a large number, like 12. And notice what's happening. It's pushing it out a bit. Why is it so liquidy? I don't normally get that effect. Yes, I just described it as liquidy. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to get rid of our second viewport. I'm going to tag that up there for a moment. I'm going to get rid of viewport 2. I'm going to go back to lit, and I'm going to hit play real quick. And what I'm going to do also before I go back into it is I'm going to put our BP survival mode on, hit play. Yeah, something is definitely wrong here. So I'm going to take a moment and work out what's going on. I'm going to first build lighting, and I'm going to just check in if it's the lighting or not. But I'm going to pause for a moment now. So yeah, I found the mistake. I made a comment several videos back on our tessellation. We need to clamp this. That is going to be part of our problem here. Let's apply this. It's going to redo all our shaders, and let's take a look at the effect. All right, moment of truth. Let's go back here. Oh, that somehow made it worse. I'm sure someone else noticed that mistake as well. That explains a lot. So that's why it's only happening on the sand. So we need to duplicate this node down here, which I'm trying to control W. There we go. Plug that into there, apply, and now the issue should be resolved. I'm sorry, I was rushing through the sand at the end. All right, with that done, let's head back over, and oh God, that actually looks right. And we can see that it's a bit more sand-like. All right, we have finished out everything we need to for this video, so I'm just gonna Control S, save everything, and close it out. And with that said, well, we're ready to start getting to work on our island. And we'll import our island in our next tutorial, and we can see how this actually looks in our environment. You can also see as we move on the surface here, how our body responds, or our mannequin responds to the tessellation. I forgot to put the mud back up there. This series and this video have been brought to you by Patreon sponsors like Rian, Connor, Quadmenson, 1Bolt10, Galois, and Hanas. All of that said, if you want to be here when we start working on our island, make sure to hit that subscribe and notify icon. Eventually, we will add in fall damage. And if you want to, help this channel out, please put a like button, or please hit the like button down below. Or if you want to really help this channel out, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. Patreon supporters at upper tiers get instant access to all ongoing YouTube projects, and at other tiers will get access to completed projects or projects once they're completed. All of that said, I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.